All right, welcome back to the season pod. This is episode 2. Just like when a guy goes from his rookie year to his second year, we're going to try to make some improvements. We're going to try to be better today than we were last time.
Yes.
If that's possible. I think the first one was pretty good, right?
I'm not going to lie. I love the reels from the first one. I love reels. I think reels are great. That's why I started watching the new Heights pod. I just sat there on the couch one night and I just started laughing hysterically because I wasn't on social media that much at the time. And Tori's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm just watching these reels of New Heights pod. They're so good. I don't even know if I've listened to their podcast like from beginning to end.
Yeah.
But I've watched a ton of their reels and they're so good.
I'll make sure to tell him you said that. You have never listened from beginning to end. Jason will appreciate that.
I'll be honest with him.
Yeah, it's all good. Okay, so quick recap. We did our first episode 2 weeks ago. We have not hit our normal cadence yet. So week 1 of the NFL season is next week. This is just our second preseason show, second overall show of the podcast. Next week, we'll start doing a weekly cadence. So as we go through the football season, we'll be once a week. Usually release Wednesday or Thursday. I know we'd love to do it every single day, but Nick travels a lot. Philly has to trot him out to kiss babies and all that kind of stuff, so he's going to be gone every once in a while. There's nothing we can do about that. He's got to pay the bills. They got to bring the guy back to Philly every once in a while. So there'll be times where he's on the road. We might do it remotely with him. We'll find ways to get it done. Nonetheless, our cadence will be once a week, so please remember that. You can follow us on Instagram at the season pod, at the SZN pod. You can also link our YouTube channel on there. And if you're listening, you obviously know where to get our podcasts, Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. Today's going to be a great show. We're going to hit on some preseason takeaways, and we're not going to overreact to things that happen in the preseason, which a lot of times people do. We're not going to act like they matter more than they actually do, but there still is some interesting things to take away from the preseason. We're going to hit on some key storylines in the NFL going into week 1, aside from preseason takeaways. And then we're going to take some fan questions, which will be a lot of fun because we've had some listeners that have chimed in and asked questions. Great questions, by the way. We can't hit them all today. We're going to kind of triage them and find the best ones we can do. But we got some awesome questions that I think will be a lot of fun towards the end of the show today. So we're excited to hit those. But most importantly, and first of all, we've got what I think is going to make this show even better than what it was already going to be. Sort of an announcement of sorts. The season pod is going to add a segment to the show. Each week, probably more towards the end, maybe towards the middle. We'll kind of see how it plays out. If you watch NFL football on a regular basis and you tell me you don't gamble on it, you're probably lying, right? So it's okay to be honest with us, and we can talk lines, we can talk picks, whether it's through fantasy, whether it's through just taking individual game bets because you think you see a game you like, or like a lot of people do, they enter pick'em leagues, right? Where they pick against the spread and they have like a buy-in at the beginning of the year and helps them have a little self-control over the course of the year. It limits their exposure, their liability, and they make picks throughout the week. We want to help you with that. We want to help you make picks over the course of the week. And so we're super excited to announce a pick segment. And as I'm going through this and thinking about various ways to do this, other than just rapid fire down the list, we'll take the Chargers at -6.5. That's a no-brainer. Like instead of doing that, which we will do some of that, Nick's going to take sort of a unique role here as well. And I'm thinking, okay, how can we push this to like have Nick play? Because Nick's going to be locked in this year to NFL football. He's become a huge NFL fan, watching week in and week out. And what I really want to get from Nick each week is kind of his like signature pick each week. And then I thought, well, that's not good enough. Like Nick's signature pick segment, like not good enough, right? So how do we really make this something that like grabs people's attention? And I thought, you know what? And it just seemed to rhyme.
Yeah.
Why don't we go with a segment called, or not, the segment's going to be about picks, but why don't we call Nick in that segment Big Pick Nick? It just seems to rhyme.
It does
right?
rhyme.
Like, I don't know what we call it, BPN, like whatever we call it, right?
Yeah, it does rhyme.
And so people don't have to wonder anymore. Like they don't have to sit there and go like, God, I wonder how that what I wonder what that would look like. Tune in, listen, watch on YouTube, and see for yourself. Nick will just straight up whip out his picks here on our show each and every week, his big picks, and you'll see exactly what he thinks about the week. And I think it'll really help fans understand the best way to go about things from a gambling standpoint. Because we have fans that like care about lines, no question about that. And I know Nick hasn't been locked into lines as much probably as I have over the years because I love to follow lines. It's intriguing. Even if you don't gamble on them, it's just a lot of fun to watch. But I think Big Pick Nick could be a great segment for our show.
I think it could be huge.
Are you willing to accept that title?
I think it's a great title. I think the fact that you thought that rhymed and put that together is pretty fascinating and
totally came off the top of my head.
Yeah, I think just shows your Stanford education.
Yeah.
You know, we talk about where we went to college and you know, Arizona and then Stanford, and I'm glad you got something out of it. I mean, that's pretty good.
So week in and week out, the season pod is going to bring you our pick segment, and Big Pick Nick is just going to lay it all out there for you.
Yeah.
And we're going to so I want you to you're going to get into other games too, but there's going to be your signature pick of the week. And Big Nick, or excuse me, it's alliteration. There's a lot going on there. It's not
say it 10 times fast.
Yeah, say it 10 times fast. Good luck. Big Pick Nick is going to show up week in and week out, and he's going to bring value to all of our listeners. It's something over the course of the season you're not going to want to miss. I challenge you to show up here weekly like we do and see what Big Pick Nick is all about, because there's going to be something special to it. No question.
So tune in. It could be huge.
Could be huge. It could be massive.
Yeah.
Right. Anyway, so that was like the news I was.
That was a great announcement.
Well, I was super excited to share it because I think every show you have to continue to be innovative.
Yeah.
And give your listeners something new and something different. And I think there'll be weeks where people, you know, we might have other analysis on games or other stories we're talking about that will be fun to listen to and hear and perspective on. But no, there's nowhere else where someone can get something as big as Big Pick Nick.
No doubt.
And they're going to get it here on this show, and we're super excited to share it with everybody.
Love it.
You good with that?
I'm great with that.
You gonna embrace it?
I'm gonna embrace it.
Maybe we can go because like he got the no days off hat on. Maybe we can Big Pick Nick or something.
I think a shirt or a hat would be awesome.
Yeah.
We got to start it first though, and I got to make some big picks.
It's gonna be massive, and you can't be wrong, right?
Yeah, that's the thing.
Well, let's put it this way: you can be wrong, but you have to consistently be over 50%.
Yeah.
Give people a chance to win some cash.
And I feel like it can't be like a soft like it can't.
Excuse me.
It's got to be
what's so funny?
An aggressive pick. It's got to be something. It can't just be the easy pick like the.
So it's got to be a hard pick.
Yeah, it's got to be a hard pick.
Yeah. Well, look, for those of you that follow lines in the NFL, every pick is hard.
Yeah.
Like there is no gimme. That's why they have spreads, right? Yeah. They all in theory are about a coin toss.
Yeah.
You might think it's different. You go, oh, look at that line. That's a no-brainer. Yeah, go ahead, take it and see what happens.
Yeah.
Right. It's probably not going to work out for you, right? Whatever your initial reaction is to a line, that's what the odds makers want you to feel. So I generally probably go the other way, right? When you see a line,
so you
feel really good about it.
You know the psychology behind all this, and I've learned it since I left the game.
I've paid the price, too.
And I've never known the spreads too much. I've never worried about them when I played. Where I got interested, and honestly, where we started talking about the season pod was when I went to Barstool Sports and sort of did their version of the car wash. And I remember going on their segment.
You were with Big Cat, right?
I was a Big Cat. Now we got Big Cat, Big Pick Nick. Now we got, our segment, all of it came together. But I remember I was going on the show, and they said, we're going to do all the picks and the spreads. And I remember telling them, I don't really know the spreads. Like, I don't know the plus 7.5, minus 7.5, like all this stuff. Like, you've always helped me explain like what's going on.
Yeah.
And I got on the show and I wasn't going to use the spreads. They were just going to have me pick which team won, but I wanted to do it the right way. So I went on and I did all the picks, and I wanted to know, I was following it that week, and I felt like I was one of the best guests, but they never announce it.
The only thing I'll say about that, for those of you that make your picks and don't bet on it, and you think like, oh, I was 9-5 this week, I'm really good, because anything over 50% is good.
Yeah.
Right? You're in the money for the most part, with the exception of some juice. But what I find is like it's a little different when you're actually wagering.
Yeah.
When you're putting, like, it's one thing for me to say like, oh, I really like I like the Bengals +6 here. Are you willing to bet on that? Are you willing to actually put money on that?
Yeah.
Because so often guys will just do their picks. They're like, look, man, 9-5. Did you bet? No, I don't want to hear it. Because you didn't have the balls to bet on it, right?
Yeah.
You have the balls to bet on it.
Yeah.
And Big Pick Nick is going to get this done this year. And we're going to do it together. We're going to share good insight, but Big Pick Nick is going to show up every single week. BPN. I don't care how many shows are out there sponsored by FanDuel, DraftKings, whatever. Nobody has Big Pick Nick. And that's something I think we need to ride all year, right?
All year.
It's special. It's going to be huge. It's going to be massive.
Yeah, it is special.
Let's do it. Okay, so that being said, we're moving on to big takeaways from the NFL preseason, right? And we're not going to overreact to anything, but here are some things to keep in mind. If you didn't tune in very much to the NFL preseason, here are some things that we think are worthy of your attention as we head into week 1, which is next week. This is kind of a down week in the NFL. Every team cut from 90 to 53 guys on their roster this week. A lot of news. If you follow Adam Schefter, it's just an endless cycle of breaking news of guys getting released, traded. We're going to address some holdout situations. There's 3 key holdouts with Terry McLaurin, Trey Hendrickson of the Bengals, and Micah Parsons still pending. We're going to hit those as well as takeaways. So let's start with this. This isn't a huge one because there's nothing really all that notable. But following the Super Bowl last year, where the Chiefs got absolutely waxed by the Philadelphia Eagles and showed a lot of issues, right? Up front, Mahomes was getting hit too much. I thought in their final preseason game, the Chiefs looked really good. And to what extent that matters, we'll see. But I think for Andy Reid, just to get them out there, the starters in week 3, and be like, they played a lot of snaps. Let's see, they scored 24 points on 23 plays in the final preseason game. That's really good.
Yeah, really
So I think
good.
if you're Andy Reid, you're like, sigh of relief. Like, that feels good exiting the preseason, even though I've got a bunch of veterans and I've got Travis Kelce, I've got Patrick Mahomes. It still feels good to have that in the barn, the hay's in the barn, so to speak, as you head into week 1. Rashee Rice is going to be suspended. They're down another playmaker. They revamped their offensive line a little bit. But I think if you're Andy Reid, you have to feel good about the way the Chiefs came out of the preseason relatively healthy, and Patrick Mahomes looks like he's ready to roll.
Yeah, I mean, Andy always has them dialed in. I was drafted by Andy, played for the Chiefs in 2016. I know what Andy Reid's training camp looks like, and it's extremely structured. Everyone's dialed in, and the culture he's built there from the moment he got there has been, in 2013, has been amazing. So they're never complacent. I mean, they lost in the Super Bowl, and it is a failed season. It feels like. Everyone's hungry. Pat Mahomes away.
It does feel that way with how much they struggled at times during the season, right? Like, it does.
That says a lot about them, because a lot of teams that lose in the Super Bowl come back the offseason, and they feel like, man, that was an amazing year. And it is an amazing year. It's an amazing accomplishment to win your conference and go to the Super Bowl. It's not enough for the Chiefs, and that's why they're so great. Pat Mahomes right away gets a new haircut, changing things up. All these videos of him training, I know that's probably part of his marketing deals and stuff, but you can tell by watching clips from that game how he's running around and the plays he's making in preseason game 3. He looks awesome. The team looks awesome. Travis Kelce looks like he's in great shape, even with everything he does off the field, with all the commercials, being in Happy Gilmore 2, recently engaged to Taylor Swift. Everyone's talking about that. It amazes me how he can do everything at such a high level.
He looks leaner.
He looks lean. He looks good. I expect him to, it might be his final year. Everyone's talking about this might be his final year. It's really cool to see him just dialed in, finishing it the right way. I mean, they look great going in the season. They always look great going in the season. I actually see a stronger Chiefs team than in the past just because they lost in the Super Bowl.
They're going to need it, because one of the things we're going to get into in about 10 minutes is that division is going to be tough, right? Like, we've heard people talk about the Raiders and Pete Carroll, but they're picked last, Raiders and Pete Carroll in the division, by kind of a wide margin. The Denver Broncos are picked second. I shouldn't say picked. The odds are that they're going to finish second, right? They're the second favorite in the division. And third is Jim Harbaugh's Chargers, and they're going to be tough. And so we're going to jump into the Denver Broncos later, because the Denver Broncos, folks, could be a problem in that division for the Chiefs. It's very possible. There could be some value there too. Big Pick Nick won't go there yet, but there could be some value there. So we're going to jump into the Denver Broncos a little bit, but that's why we note what the Chiefs did to finish the preseason, because that division is going to be super interesting. And following last year's Super Bowl, it's fair to wonder, where are the Chiefs heading into this year? They finished the preseason really strong. It's good stuff. There aren't really that many preseason quarterback battles in the NFL. I mean, the last thing you want as an NFL franchise, unlike college, happens quite a bit, quarterback battles, is heading into the preseason through all 3 preseason games wondering who your starting quarterback is. It's not where you want to be, right? So we don't see him as often in the NFL, but we had 1 and maybe 2 this year. The most notable one for some, I mean, it was the most obvious competition, was the Saints. Kellen Moore is in his first year as a head coach there, after being offensive coordinator last year for Philly, offensive coordinator the year before in Dallas, has a bunch of success as a play caller, really smart guy. He goes down to the Saints, and the first thing he has to do is figure out who the heck his quarterback is.
Yeah.
So he's got Spencer Rattler, who just finished his first year. He's going into year 2 in the NFL. And they drafted Tyler Shuck in the 2nd round out of Texas Tech. Tyler also played at Oregon. They have decided that Spencer Rattler is going to be their starter, at least for week 1. What's sort of ironic here, Tyler Shuck is 25 years old. He's a 25-year-old rookie.
I love how you pronounce his last name correctly.
Shuck. If you're saying show, S-H-O-U-G-H, it means you don't watch football. This is an educated podcast.
Yes,
right?
it is.
So we know what we're doing.
Highly
we
educational.
can say Tyler Shuck the right way. Tyler Shuck was a 2nd-round pick for the Saints. Those two competed throughout training camp. Spencer Rattler, obviously Oklahoma in college and transferred to South Carolina. It felt even throughout the preseason, and so for that reason and other reasons, the Saints and Kellen Moore land on Spencer Rattler to start the season. There's a few different ways to look at this. I mean, Tyler Shuck is Kellen Moore's draft pick, right? His first at quarterback. Really important position, obviously.
Yeah.
And Spencer Rattler's not, but Spencer Rattler still wins it. What do you think the psychology is there? Let's just assume for a second. We don't need to get into too much in the weeds on how each performed in each preseason game. Let's assume it was roughly even. What do you think the psychology or the thought process is there in landing on Spencer Rattler over Tyler Shuck? Because keep in mind, Tyler Shuck's 25 years old as a rookie. Spencer Rattler's going into year 2. He's 24. Tyler's older than Spencer, even though he's not as experienced in the NFL. He's actually older as a rookie than Spencer Rattler is. What do you think the psychology is there?
I think it's a smart decision with what they have. Spencer's been in the NFL for a year. He's witnessed games. He's been in games. He's gone through the grind of a season. He's, those emotions of your first game playing, like he's experienced that. He knows what it's like. Where Tyler, this is all new to him. Mm-hmm. And I do think it's good to protect. I mean, they're both young players. It's going to be an interesting year for Kellen Moore. I don't think it's a great QB situation for him by any means.
It's tough.
But I'm excited for Spencer Rattler. I know it's been a wild journey for him, starting at Oklahoma, being a 5-star recruit, going to South Carolina, and then just his battle, just working to get better each and every day. What a great opportunity for a young player to go out there with Kellen Moore calling the plays and a new team. It's a huge opportunity, but at the same time, Tyler Shuck is going to be right there, absorbing everything, dealing with the emotions, being a backup, and he's just one play away with a young head coach, young team. I mean, it's a tough situation for Kellen. I mean, you would love to, with Derek Carr retiring, it put him in
set him back.
It put him in a really tough situation, and
so that set him back. Right?
Yes.
You have a franchise guy
that's why we're in this situation.
Right.
Yeah.
One thing we have to acknowledge to sort of Spencer's benefit is last year when Spencer Rattler was playing, it wasn't great, but they were decimated by injuries on both sides of the ball. And Chris Olave is a fantastic wide receiver from Ohio State. He wasn't available for the most part, right? So like Spencer didn't have all his weapons at his disposal. So I think part of it is Kellen saying, look, I look back at last year, I find some mitigating factors that help Spencer Rattler. So in light of what he did in the preseason this year, we think he's more than capable of leading our team. But I also think there's something, and I would suspect you do too, where Kellen goes, hey, Tyler Shuck was my draft pick. He's on my resume now. I didn't draft Spencer, but I still love the kid. I need him to be successful. Is there a little bit of protecting Tyler Shuck as well? Maybe saying like, hey, I don't want to trot that kid out there as a second-round pick, because people already look at go, hey, you took him a little higher than we expected, right? When Tyler Shuck was drafted by the Saints, I think people were, oh, wow, he's already going.
Yeah.
There might be an element of Kellen Moore sort of protecting Tyler Shuck and making sure this team is in the right place before he inserts him. Because I do think Tyler plays at some point this year, be it by injury or performance. And if he does, it sort of feels like he might be protecting him a little bit because Kellen was part of the decision to draft Tyler. So this is sort of on Kellen's record, so to speak.
For sure. I mean, I do feel like if Tyler would have really showed out during training camp and preseason, he would have a huge opportunity to actually start week 1. But because it was fairly even, the safe bets to go with Spencer. I mean, Spencer played in 7 games, 6 starts. Honestly, looking at statistics from a rookie year on a rough team, it reminds me a lot of my rookie year. Yeah. A very similar situation. So I can personally say I know how that feels. It's tough, man, going in and losing. I think he's 0-6 as a starter. I won 1 game as a rookie, and it felt like I won the Super Bowl. Still one of my favorite victories down in Tampa Bay. But with that, going into year 2, I was
Q8 to Avant.
Q8 to Avant? Or no, to Macklin.
Concussed?
Macklin.
Were you concussed on
I got hit a few times.
Okay, sorry.
I had some head hits.
I think you were like, didn't even know what was going on that play.
Hey,
this was rookie year.
I tried to keep it simple. There's some crazy clips from that game if you go back and look at it. I got hit a few times.
Hey, at least the receiver caught it your rookie year, huh?
Hey, you know what? It felt good, and then we got decimated after that.
Yeah.
But I will say this, for Spencer Rattler, playing in 7 games and going through that, it's tough, but it just going into year 2 is very different. Mm-hmm. He's had the offseason to get away from the facility, to go train, to come back. He's going to feel a lot better stepping on the field. He's going to have in my opinion, a better offensive staff with Kellen Moore. I mean, look what Kellen's done throughout his career. I mean, winning a Super Bowl last year in Philadelphia.
They're better off just from a play calling standpoint.
Yes, and they're going to protect Spencer. They're going to put Spencer in a position to be successful. So I think he'll play his best football. Will that be good enough? I don't know. I wish him the best because I'm excited for a young player getting an opportunity, especially after a year like that. It's tough. I mean, there's points where your rookie year is going like this, and then you're going to year two. It's like, man, am I ever going to win a game in the NFL? And at the same time, you have Tyler, who's going to absorb all this. And I mean, 6'5", 220, big quarterback. He needs time to develop. And this is all new for everybody. It'll be an interesting year for the Saints.
They're both learning the system, though, right? Like Spencer's learning it too. Like it's not like Tyler's had a year in Kellen's system. They're both learning the system. But I just think as a second-round pick, like it or not, and this might surprise some people, that look, the ultimate objective always is to win.
Yeah.
The GM for New Orleans and also Kellen Moore, who doesn't have like total roster control, but the objective is to win. But don't think for 1 second that these guys, when they make a decision, when Kellen goes, yeah, I'm on board drafting Tyler, that they're not also thinking, I need this to look good, right? So we need to win, but I also need the guys I draft to look good, right?
Yeah.
Because if Tyler ends up being this huge bust, I know you didn't take him top 10, but you took him in the second round. That was your quarterback. Didn't look at. So I think there's an element of protecting him a little bit, given that all things seemed equal going into training camp.
I'm super surprised that they're only – I mean, a lot of teams only keep 2 active quarterbacks, and then they get 1 on practice squad. But the fact that they're 2 really young quarterbacks, I would like it if there was a veteran in the room. I say that because when you're a young player, people outside won't realize this, but I realize this because as a young player, you want a vet to show you the ropes.
You want him to sign you?
You know, you never know. I mean, am I going to make a comeback? I don't know.
Well, with Philly having you kissing babies and all that, you might actually take a pay cut going and playing if you have to go back and play football and not able to be on this victory tour still.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know. Only football I've been throwing is the little flag football, and that thing is fun to throw.
That was the same thing when you went back and played.
That's true.
Yeah, it's no different. You hadn't touched a football in a year. When you
could I physically go play and do it all? Absolutely. I can still sling the ball at a high level.
Prove it.
But yeah, I know you would love. I know the family would love to see me go do it.
All right. Not the only one. The other QB battle of sorts was the Cleveland Browns. It felt like a foregone conclusion that they would go with Joe Flacco. And look, make no mistake about it, Cleveland's not going to win this division. So to some people that might be a bold prediction.
This is from a former
Browns player.
Like,
I don't think no one's looking at it being like, okay, Cleveland, choose the right guy because you guys are going to win the division. I don't see that happening. But it was still a battle of sorts, and wondering, okay, Joe Flacco, that is the 40-year-old quarterback for the Browns, who's been around the block a bunch but can still play. Joe didn't have to prove himself in camp. If anything, it was Joe. They knew they had Joe, and we'll see what the other guys bring to the table. Other guys meaning it's a pretty loaded room with Dillon Gabriel, Shedeur Sanders both being rookies, and also Kenny Pickett, the former first-round pick for the Pittsburgh Steelers, who ends up getting traded to the Raiders. Because Aiden O'Connell gets hurt in Las Vegas, so they need another option. They end up trading for Kenny Pickett. So that leaves Joe Flacco, Dillon Gabriel, 4th-round pick, Shedeur Sanders, 5th-round pick. And so it was almost like, okay, let's just set Joe here. We know he's good enough to start for us. And let's see what these other guys have. Shedeur flashed in his first preseason game. Struggled a little bit after that. He missed the middle one because of an oblique issue. Dillon Gabriel, I thought, showed command. I thought he actually overall looked more comfortable than Shedeur. Some people have been, it's not fair. Like Shedeur didn't get the same play calling as Dillon had. Have you seen a play sheet to those people? Have you seen a play sheet in the NFL going into a preseason game where it says Dillon's plays, and then Shedeur's really hard plays that aren't very good to make him look bad plays, right? No, those things don't exist. And the reality is that Dillon beat him out in training camp, and Shedeur's going to be number 3 on the depth chart. Dillon's number 2. Those guys, either one of them or both of them, I think are going to play at some point this year due to injury or performance. Nothing against Joe. It's just he's 40 years old, right?
He's still a baller, though.
They end up landing on Joe Flacco, right?
Smart decision.
And so Shedeur, obviously not there quite yet. People go, is he going to make the roster? Yeah, he made the roster, but he's number 3. Dillon is the 4th-round pick from Oregon. Dillon Gabriel is the backup quarterback, and that's what the Browns are going to roll with.
Yeah, I think it's smart. I mean, I was going to go with Joe. We need to go back and see the bet from our first episode. My big thing with Shedeur was not going to be the backup.
Let me rehab. So the bet was, it was actually after the show. I don't even think it was on camera. Nick said Kenny Pickett's going to be the backup, and neither rookie is going to be the backup. It's going to be Joe Flacco, and then Kenny's going to be the backup. And I was like, no chance that Kenny Pickett's the backup there. I didn't foresee him being traded.
Yeah, I think it's a void bet.
Keep in mind, a lot of this happened is because Aiden gets hurt, and the Raiders had a need, and so they reach out and take him as a backup to Geno Smith in Vegas. But I think even though you're saying the bet's void, I'm fine with that. I think it's pretty clear that even if Kenny Pickett had stayed there, he would not have been the backup, which then begs the question, why would you even have him on your, maybe he'd just gotten flat out released. I don't know.
Yeah.
But the rookies are backing him up. And I felt like that was going to be the case regardless.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it would take 4 games before a rookie backed him up. Did we know which rookie? No. I know all the fans and the media wants it to be Shedeur because there's a lot of fanfare behind him for obvious reasons, being Deion's son and what he did in college, and he has a strong personality and he lets it show, and that's awesome part of the NFL. There's a lot of strong personalities that create a lot of great content and create a lot of fanfare, and I just want it all to be positive for the young watchers. That's my big thing, is be positive for the young kids. I do think that this was the right decision to go with Joe Flacco. He still can play and play at a high level. He could still make a run. Like, he gives them the best bet. There's no question about that. He can still do it. I like Dillon Gabriel backing him up. I agree with you. I think he showed great command, especially with all the fanfare around Shedeur. He was still able to go out there, and even after comments he said after a game that everyone alluded that he was saying about Shedeur, he said he wasn't. I mean, the guy had so much success in college. Everywhere.
The comment you're referencing is Dillon, after one of the games, said there are entertainers and there are playmakers.
Yeah,
something along those lines. And a lot of people thought he was alluding to Shedeur being an entertainer rather than an actual executor or playmaker, right? That's unconfirmed that he was actually alluding to Shedeur, but something was made of that.
And the truth is, Shedeur can do both.
Sure.
He's an entertainer and a
tools.
playmaker, and he's a good player. I think that going into week 1, if Shedeur is number 2, everyone's just going to be waiting for Joe to mess up to put Shedeur in, and that's not good for Shedeur. It's not good for Dillon to go in. Like,
might be why they had him number 3.
Yeah, I think that's why they made him number 3. And I'm saying right now, like, as a rookie, as much as you want to get out there, this team was a bad team last year. They were a very bad team. I like Stefanski. I think he's a good coach. I like him a lot, but they were a bad team. Joe Flacco needs to start this season. Hopefully he stays healthy so these rookies can learn, because that gives them the best opportunity to go out there and have success. I want all these guys to have success. It doesn't need to start first game. And I always tell young players this: the second you start playing, your clock has started. So when you step on the field, you want to be the best version of yourself. And sometimes that means taking a pause and learning and watching and feeling the emotions of the game. And they get to watch an amazing player, a Super Bowl champ, conduct an offense and go through a week of preparation and play the game. This is so valuable for Dillon and Shedeur. And all the fans will be like, listen. In all respect, you don't. I get what you're saying from a fanfare. Like, you want to see him out there, you want to wear the jersey, you want him to play. But for these young players, they need to watch, they need to learn, because when they step on the field, that clock starts for them. And the way Green Bay has the best way of doing this. They have drafted quarterbacks behind a franchise Hall of Famer. That quarterback then sits for a year, 2, 3, 4 years, and then they play. They absorb the game, they watch the game, they see how this player conducts it, and then there's not much of they catch up to that level pretty quickly. Whereas a lot of teams nowadays, it's very hard for a rookie to go in and have success. It does happen. We've seen that with C.J. Stroud. We've seen that with young players, Jaden Daniels. We've seen that, but it's an anomaly. You need a great coaching infrastructure. You need a new staff. This is a staff that is on their last leg. That if they have a bad year, they're gone. Joe Flacco needs to be a star. These guys need to be sitting behind him. They need to learn. And then ultimately, if they do that, second half of the season, if something happens, they'll be in a better position to have success on the field.
2 things. I do think Dillon beat out Shedeur Sanders in training camp. But even if it were equal, after hearing you talk, I also think they would have made Shedeur 3, even if it were equal, because Shedeur being 2 also provides a lot of unnecessary chatter and pressure on Joe that I don't think the coaches or the organization wants to deal with. Because, like it or not, where a guy is drafted, like, competition can sometimes be sort of a myth when you go into camp. I was an undrafted guy, and, like, don't tell me that we all came into camp, like, on equal footing and, like, oh, we're going to play the best guy. No, you're not. You're going to play the guy you drafted. Unless that guy gets hurt.
You're paying that guy a lot more money, and you've already invested.
No question. Like, competition so often in the NFL is total BS, right? Because the reality, and I'm not blaming the teams, like, you already made an investment in that guy. And by and large, with some exceptions, he earned it in college, right? He was a total stud, ends up being a 4th round pick. He was a higher pick than Shedeur Sanders, and you already told us what you think of both of them. So all things being equal, you're going to go with Dillon Gabriel. Also, I think if Shedeur ends up as number 2, immediately everyone's like, whoa. He already beat Dillon out. How long until he's playing? It's going to provide a lot of chatter the organization doesn't want to hear. Last thing on the Browns, quarterback of the future can mean a lot of different things, right?
Yeah.
Are we talking about later this year? Are we talking about next year? If we project to 2026 and whether or not Stefanski's there, I'm not convinced that the quarterback of the future is on this roster right now.
No.
And don't get me wrong. I don't think Shedeur, like I get the people being like, how is he not drafted higher? I understand. Maybe he's a second, third round talent. That guy's not on the roster. I don't believe. And even if they have a coaching change after this year, or even if they don't, I think they're still going to be looking for that guy because Joe's only got so much time left, Joe Flacco. And I don't think the quarterback of the future is on that roster right now. So that's something to keep in mind too.
No, I think that's fair. And this is the preseason, right?
Right.
Let's keep it real. I mean, we're removed from the NFL. Mm-hmm. I can say it now. When you're in the NFL, you're always like, preseason's real. Preseason's real. Preseason's not real.
No.
The speed of the game is at 60% at best. Maybe 70% if it starters or starters.
Everyone's thinking, don't get hurt. Don't get hurt.
Yeah, and honestly, I was in a position at the end of my career that was tough where I'm playing with all the guys that aren't going to make the team. Yeah. But at the same time, my responsibility was to step on the field and give all these guys an opportunity to make another roster. Because I knew they weren't going to make the roster I was on, but I wanted to play well as a quarterback, not for myself. I knew I was going to go out there and conduct the offense. I wanted to put all of my guys around me to give them an opportunity on film for all the 31 other teams to potentially get them on practice squad or get them on active roster, which did happen. The speed of the game is very different. When I was a rookie, I balled out in the preseason. I'm like, man, this thing's easy. Like, I mean, I was throwing a couple touchdowns.
You played us at Cleveland in the preseason, remember?
You caught a touchdown, and I remember that spike, man. That was a dirty spike. Maybe we can find a clip of that. But at the same time, it's a false facade for these rookies. If you play well, like Shedeur when he played well in his first game, dude, I threw like 2 touchdowns back to back.
You're not playing against the ones, right? You're not seeing exotic pressures. You're not seeing anything from the defense. Like, but you still want to do it.
You have to do great because you know nothing else. You're feeling the full emotions of the game. It's real, and it's a real game. You can get really injured. You're conducting offense. The offense. You're never game planning for these preseason games. You're running training camp.
Maybe a little bit in the last one. Maybe
a little bit. Like the Chiefs for sure did a little game planning, so they looked good, felt good. They probably did a normal prep week to get acclimated for the season. Mm-hmm. But my point is this: the preseason's great, but like these coaches and these GMs know what it really is, and that's why they're doing the Joe Flacco starting, Dylan Gabriel 2, Shedeur Sanders 3. They know the real reason. Yeah, they know the real reason of the preseason. Yeah. Once the season starts, that's why I like these rookie quarterbacks in that position watching these veterans. Because I remember watching Michael Vick my rookie year. I think we went back to Cleveland real early. I forget what our opener was, but the speed was so different. The hits were more violent. And then the regular season's the speed, and then playoff speed goes.
I wouldn't know.
Let's say regular season's 100%.
I think the last playoff game I played in was my junior year of high school, but whatever. Let's keep going.
I mean, once you get to the playoffs, it's like 120% because it's do or die. Mm-hmm. So these rookies and all these young players get to witness that, and that's so valuable. That's also why reverting back to like Spencer Rattler, he has a year in New Orleans. That's why now he's playing, and you're protecting another rookie.
Okay. Another preseason takeaway. I don't think this was a quarterback competition because if it were, then Jackson Dart would be starting. If it were purely based on merits during the preseason.
He's not the starter?
No, he's.
Who else do they have on this roster? By the way,
I'm not saying I think Jackson Dart is better than Russell Wilson yet. But
Russell Wilson's on the Giants?
Yes.
On their Instagram, all I see is Jackson Dart videos and photos. I don't ever see – I just see Russell. I did see Russell, but
he's there.
I just see him slapping him fives.
Yeah. So their quarterback room is Russell Wilson, Jackson Dart, and Jameis Winston, right? They
Jameis.
They just cut Tommy DeVito, the Colt hero, right? Tommy, remember his agent on the sideline? Like Tommy DeVito was –
I love him.
But they just released him. So those are their 3 guys. I don't know about high-end talent in that room, but it's pretty evenly spread out, right? I mean, Jameis can do some damage even though he makes mistakes. Like, he's a viable starter if you need him. Right? Oh, yeah. So I don't think it was a competition. I think they knew where they'd land with Russ when they signed him. But it's notable. I think Jackson Dart was sort of the QB newcomer of the preseason. Right?
Oh, yeah.
First-round pick, you'd be like, okay, there's only a few of them. I get it. But Jackson Dart had a fantastic preseason. He had 372 total passing yards and was 3 touchdowns, no interceptions through 3 games, and made some big-time throws. I watched him play a fair amount, both at USC and Ole Miss, and he was a good college player. He surpassed my expectations in the preseason. It doesn't mean that he's going to surpass my expectations for his NFL career, but he's off to a great start. And if that were truly a competition, maybe Brian Daboll, the head coach of the Giants, maybe he goes and he's the offensive coordinator too. He's the offensive guy or calls the plays. maybe they go that route if it were truly a competition. It wasn't, right? Russell Wilson's going to start. And let me be really clear when I say this. I played with Russ when he was a rookie in 2012 in Seattle, and he beat out Matt Flynn that year. Matt's one of the reasons I went to Seattle. He's a good buddy of mine. I thought Matt was going to be starting. Russell starts and puts together what I think is a Hall of Fame resume in Seattle.
Yes.
Unbelievable player in his prime.
Yes.
I'm not taking anything away from Russ. There's magic to his game.
Yes.
Now, did he have pieces around? Did he have a phenomenal offensive line? Did he have Marshawn Lynch? Did he
Amazing
have
defense.
a defense that was unreal?
Great head coach.
Was he on a rookie contract that allowed them to pay all these other positions on defense and around him with Sidney Rice and all these guys on offense that were – absolutely, that's all part of the equation. Has the magic run out with Russ? I think so. I don't think we'll see Russ play anywhere near that level again in his career for whatever reason, but that's just where things are. They're going to go with Russ. I don't think we'll see a very high ceiling with Russ. So therefore, at some point this year, I do think we'll – because this team has other holes. This team's not good enough to make a playoff run, I don't think, at this point. But Brian Daboll is a smart offensive mind. He works his tail off to find advantages from a game plan standpoint. Of all the coaches I played for, college and pro, Brian was probably the best at scouting an opponent and coming up with all these different ways to beat them at their tendencies that specific week. His specific game plan was awesome. Like, I thought he was fantastic at it. It was the year we had Peyton Hillis in Cleveland and ended up having a pretty good offense for, at times. So all that being said, I think it's notable that Jackson Dart is the newcomer quarterback of the year in the preseason, had a fantastic preseason. I think we'll see him at some point this year. I don't think the Giants are going to be great this year. There's holes in a lot of different spots around the team, but keep an eye on Jackson Dart. He had a great preseason. He was their first-round pick out of Ole Miss.
This might be my favorite quarterback room in the NFL. I'm going to just say that. It's not my big picnic, but that might be my big observation just looking at it.
Big picnic just sort of picked that one's his but you're saying just across the board.
And let me say why it's my favorite quarterback room. It's cohesive. A lot of the clips you see of this QB room they get along. Mm-hmm. And I will say this, the reason is Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston has an innate ability through his personality, through his faith, through his play to bring a team together. Yeah. One of my favorite players in the NFL. I love his energy. His energy is contagious. They are so lucky to have Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston, after football, is going to do so many amazing things on TV. He already does some funny stuff. I love it. But after games, you see these young quarterbacks. You saw Tommy, you saw Jackson, you saw them doing his little W and all this. Yeah. I love seeing that. The Giants could have a rough year this year. They're on their last leg as a coaching staff. But what gives them hope –
they're longest odds to win the division behind Dallas.
Yeah.
So it goes Eagles, Commanders, Dallas Cowboys, New York Giants.
The thing that has surprised me and sort of changed my perspective of them this preseason is their QB room and how they mesh together. Russell running on the field, cheering on Jameis. Jackson Dart's in such an amazing position as a young player. He has Russell Wilson, who I know he will – like the magic he had as a younger player – He won't be able to do all those amazing plays because those are Hall of Fame plays. They're amazing. They're the reason he's going to go to the Hall of Fame. But he's still a great player. Like Russell will still be able to conduct an offense at a high level. He'll still be able to prepare at a high level and do these things. Then you have Jackson, who had endless swagger, and you can tell by watching clips from their training camp, the team has bought into Jackson Dart. You can tell by the social media for the New York Giants. This is their QB of the future. I sort of feel bad for him that it's the coaching staff's last leg when they draft him because they have to win or these guys are gone, and that puts them in a weird position. I was in Chicago. That's sort of Chicago's resume is like coaches on their last leg draft a quarterback in the first round to try to buy them time. Doesn't go well. Owners come in, say, we're going to get a fresh staff for this young quarterback. This new staff comes in and inherits a young quarterback that they did not draft. Yeah. Though Jackson Dart will fit into anyone's system. Yeah. I really like this QB room. I just can't say enough about him. I know how important it is for a QB room to mesh, and you
also hope you're not cycling through the whole QB room. That means it's a total disaster.
It is, but at the same time, and it's very unique. Any of these guys stepping on the field for the Giants right now, I think the team's confident in them, and that's not normal. Like I think
even Jameis, it could be boom, but it can also be
it can be
bust.
You can throw 5 touchdowns. You just don't know what
5 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Like that's a legit stat line.
You don't know, but like I think they're in a great position in their QB. They need to feel. I bet they feel really, really, really good about this, and also because of Jackson Dart being around these great vets. they really struck gold with his QB room. I don't know if that's going to equate to a great season, but I just, from being a quarterback and being in a lot of rooms, when you go to work every single day, you know what it's like being in a room. You got to put the best rooms, put their ego to a side, and they're able to have fun, work hard, and make each other better without trying to undercut each other. It seems like they have that there, and that'll ultimately give them an opportunity to have a successful season.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. And one thing you mentioned that I think is worth repeating. So Brian Daboll, at one point, takes the Giants to a playoff game. They win in Minnesota in the wild card round with Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones is now gone. I would say Brian Daboll's stock in New York is tenuous at best, right?
Yeah.
Like he can't really afford another really bad season. New York's not going to have a lot of patience. And so that's where this dynamic gets super interesting, where if things feel like they're starting to slip, if you have a plan where you're like, hey, ideally you're like the Packers. You let a first-round pick like Jackson Dart sit and learn for like maybe even longer than a season, maybe 2 seasons, right?
Yeah.
You probably don't have that luxury if you're the New York Giants. And
He's going to have to play.
If you're Brian Daboll and you're in week 5 and you're 2-3, or 1-4 for that matter, and the quarterback position is just okay and you're looking for a spark, and you're Brian, you're like, okay, I've got a decision to make. Do I go with Jackson Dart now? And if he's not ready and he fails, well, now I'm for sure done, because the only real hope that I had as the head coach was that I got this guy who I'm not going to play quite yet, but he's ready. So if you're Brian Daboll, you're kind of attached to Jackson Dart, and you're kind of hoping like that gives me a little more time, because the organization goes, well, hold on, we want to see Jackson and Brian together. We want to see how that works.
Yeah.
Right? You'd like that to buy you as much time as possible, but if things start to slip, it's going to be really difficult. And then if you're forced to throw him out there sooner than you'd like, or sooner than you really feel like he's ready, because don't forget, the playbook is pared down over the course of the preseason. And so there's probably parts of Brian Daboll that goes, look, Jackson looked fantastic. I know he hasn't said this on record, but is he really ready to embrace everything that I'm going to throw at him? Not yet. We're not ready for him yet.
Yeah.
So then would he be ready by mid-October? Probably not. But if you're forced to do it because you're Brian Daboll and now you're trying to save your job, that's where things can really start to fall apart. An organization can really get themselves in trouble, because not only do you start to talk about firing a coach, but now you've possibly, if things don't go well for Jackson, because you've thrown him in when you're 1-4, now you destroy a young quarterback psyche.
Yep. And that's a real thing.
Like, now you get to the end of the season, you're like, okay, we're going to fire Brian Daboll. I'm not saying this is going to happen, but it's possible. We're going to fire Brian Daboll. And our rookie, who we had a ton of faith in preseason, really struggled second half of the season because our team just wasn't very good. We don't even know if he's the guy now. It was that bad. That's all very possible, and it's a scenario that you want to do anything you can, if you're the ownership, John Mara, or if you're Brian Daboll, to avoid.
Yes.
At all costs, you want to avoid that, because that can set you back 2 more years if the guy you took in the first round doesn't materialize. So, look, as an owner, and we're going to get to Jerry Jones later about how they get involved in these things, you really have to, and you're not going to meddle in these things and tell them who to play, but you're watching closely, being like, look, the future of the immediate future of this team, the next 2 to 3 years, hangs in the balance with how Brian handles this whole thing. You hope for the best, but it can go south and fast.
Yeah, I mean, the best situation for them is they need to get over 10 wins.
Yeah,
and
that's not going to happen.
It's going to be really hard. And
unfortunately, that's not going to happen. I don't even think that's. I think if they finished like 8 or 9 wins, that in that division with where they're at right now and the holes they have on their roster, that might even be like, oh, that actually was pretty good. Maybe. Well, let's say they finish with 8 wins.
Yeah.
Right now,
you have a decision to make.
9 wins, let's say 9-8.
Yeah.
And Jackson ends up playing the second half of the season and does pretty well. You're going to keep Brian Daboll.
Yes.
And you're like, there's hope here.
Yeah. He goes 3-1 at the end or something.
Or if Russell has a good year, but you have Jackson waiting in the wings, all that stuff is really good for Brian.
Yeah.
We'll see. I like Brian Daboll. I really do. He is a shrewd, smart, hardworking play caller, and I think there's a chance they could find a way to make this work.
Well, they were smart because they enhanced their QB room in a great way. Russell's on a 1-year deal, mind you, so he's not.
Yeah, he's a stopgap.
He's a stopgap. They have. Here's a fun stat though that sort of makes it difficult. They have the toughest schedule in the NFL this year. The toughest.
Tougher than Detroit?
They are.
Detroit's like top 3, I think, right?
Toughest schedule in the NFL. Their opponent records in 2024 were 166 and 123. That's a 574% winning percentage. That's the highest in the league. Their playoff teams faced 10. Teams with 12-plus wins in 2024, 7. Mm-hmm. Only 4 games against teams with losing records from last year.
Wow.
That now, to your point, with that knowledge, winning 8 games is big.
It is. It's still a losing record.
It's a losing record, but if you can do it versus that schedule.
Brian doesn't get fired with 8 wins.
With this schedule, that's an impressive season.
He gets fired with 3 to 5 wins.
And
he doesn't get fired with 8 wins.
I don't think I think they're the third best team in the NFC East.
I don't.
I think the Cowboys are going to be dead last.
Well, we're going to get to that.
Yeah.
Hold that thought. Big Pick Nick just kind of gave us a forecast of where he's going.
A little foreplay.
Okay, so let's move on to the last. We'll speed up a little bit here. We'll move on to the last kind of main takeaway of the preseason. That's holdouts. I'm going to focus on 3 key ones. The first one was Terry McLaurin, the number 1 receiver for the Washington Commanders. Very important. I mean, he had a career year with Jaden Daniels at under center. He hadn't had as many touchdowns as he had last year since his rookie year, and it was almost double. I think he had like 13 touchdowns.
13 touchdowns.
He hadn't had as many as 7 since his rookie year. Okay, so he's benefiting immensely from Jaden Daniels and Cliff Kingsbury, their play caller, being there. Terry had an ankle issue during training camp, but he also was unhappy with his contract. He wanted more, right? And he saw what guys like Jamar Chase, and I'm not saying he's Jamar Chase, but he's pretty damn good. He saw what those guys were making. He thought, I need more money, right? And so there's kind of a holdout going on. They got it resolved. 3 years, like $92.5 million. So he's like a little over 30 a year, which is what we anticipated, because the highest bar for that position now is approaching like 40 million a year on average for a contract. And Terry got somewhere in the 32.5 range or something like that, which is what he was shooting for. They got him done. He's ready to go. Now the concern, he didn't play much in the preseason, had a little bit of an ankle issue. Don't expect him week 1 to roll out there and look like he did late in the season last year. Like, that's the thing about this that we can get into later, that these guys don't play much in the preseason. I don't care if he's on the side running routes by himself. You don't have the pads on, you're not getting hit, you're not catching footballs, you're not going to get better. And you're not going to be ready to play. You risk hurting your hamstring by week 2, right? Because all of a sudden you ramp it up really quick and your body wasn't ready for it, no matter who you are. I don't care how much of a freak you think your favorite player is. If he's not on the field with pads on, playing the game of football, he's not ready to play football. So that's a concern for all these guys. Anyways, Terry gets done. Trey Hendrickson, a guy that we talked about on our hit from Hawaii last week, led the league in sacks last year, 17.5 sacks. Okay, he had more than Micah Parsons did. Micah Parsons in his first 4 years has never had 17.5 sacks. Trey is a really good player. I don't think he solves all the issues that the Cincinnati Bengals have defensively. They suck at stopping the run. It's like suck. There's no other way to put it. Like, it's bad. And Trey doesn't necessarily provide the answer to that. And when you're playing from behind, teams generally don't throw the ball as much on you, so you're going to have to stop the run. So I think that was sort of the rub with Cincy, was like, this guy's a great player. We got to pay him. I get it, but man, it's like not our main problem. We have other issues we have to address. They get him signed. He was set to make $16 million this year. He's going to get a $14 million raise, and he's going to make $30 million this year. Still below the high bar for that position. Pass rushers like Myles Garrett and Micah Parsons asking for at least that. Myles Garrett set the bar at like roughly 40 a year on average, 40 million a year.
Yeah.
Trey's at 30. He's happy enough to take it, 1 year deal. Okay, so he took it. He's going to play. Is he going to be ready to play? I don't know.
Yeah.
Can he play 60 snaps a game? Probably not in the first 2 to 3 weeks.
Play third down in certain situations.
It's going to take time,
yeah.
Right? Again, like that's the hard. I feel bad for these coaches because they're like,
yeah,
I don't give a damn about the money. They just have to figure it out. I just need my guy on the field so I can use him in key situations, right? And the last one, so those 2 are resolved. Last one's Micah Parsons. And this one's been fascinating on a number of different levels, because what Adam Schefter is reporting now is that they have had no substantive talks, like constructive discussion about getting him signed since like April. When I say they, I mean Jerry Jones. Since like April. They have not talked like in depth about getting this, or no constructive discussions. They're kind of just at an impasse, if you will. And Micah Parsons wants to be the highest paid non-quarterback player in league history. Okay, so he wants to surpass Myles Garrett at $40 million a year on average. He wants to surpass Jamar Chase at who's roughly $40 million a year on average. He wants to surpass all these guys. And you might be like, well, how good is he? Well, let me run through that with you. Micah Parsons is a fantastic player. From 21 to 24, here are his sack totals. He's been in the league 4 seasons. 13 sacks, 13.5 sacks, 14 sacks, 12.5 sacks. He's averaging about 13.25 sacks per year on average for a total of 53. He's got 9 forced fumbles, which is like less than 3 per year. He's one of 2 players in NFL history with at least 12 sacks in each of his first 4 seasons. Okay? You know who the other one is? Reggie White.
Wow.
So he's in elite company. Like only 4 years into his career, he's in elite company. He's doing things that really nobody else has done.
Yeah.
He hasn't had like a 17 sack year, but he's already an elite company, and you feel like that's easily his ceiling. ESPN Analytics does a cool pass rush win rate statistic, meaning, okay, so not everything about a pass rusher shows up purely in sacks. There's going to be other percentages like PFF, ESPN Analytics, Pro Football Focus. These are entities that sort of study each and every play and like rate players based on things that maybe don't show up in the stat book. And he was third in the NFL last year at 23% win rate on pass rush. 23% to some people might seem low, but relatively speaking, you see he's third in the NFL.
It's like a batting average.
Yeah. I mean, it's left tackles are good.
Yeah.
Right tackles are good. So when you come off the edge and you beat these guys 23% of the time, the numbers say that's pretty good. Donnell Hunter from the Texans and Trey Hendrickson from the Bengals are the only two guys that were ahead of him on a pass rush win rate. Okay, so I think that establishes that Micah Parsons is really good. But if you're Jerry Jones, are you sitting there saying, I'm ready to make him the highest paid non-quarterback of all time? It's getting messy. Now, I will say to lead off here that this could be resolved tomorrow if all of a sudden Jerry Jones caves, right? Literally tomorrow. Like he could call Micah Parsons' agent and say, all right, forget it. Here's where we are. It's really close to where you were. Let's just compromise here. I've come up a bunch. And Micah Parsons' agent goes, yeah, that sounds good. We get it signed. He's ready to play tomorrow. It could very well happen. But I think if you're familiar with Jerry and his past, you can see. So right now, one of the greatest things I think that's out there for educational purposes is Netflix and their ability to capture documentaries. Whether you're a history buff and you're watching like Surviving Black Hawk Down or the Vietnam War one on there, Netflix has some unbelievable documentaries. They just came out with America's Team, which is a Cowboys doc that goes back to when – it really goes back to the Tom Landry days, but it goes back to the 89 when Jerry Jones bought the team. They sucked for 2 years. He eventually – or early on in his tenure there, Jerry, he fires Tom Landry and hires Jimmy Johnson. And they draft Troy Aikman, number 1 overall. They draft Emmitt Smith. They draft Michael Irvin, not in that order. Michael was before those guys. Emmitt Smith. And they go on to win three Super Bowls in 4 years, right? Created a dynasty. They were the team of the 90s. They knocked off the team of the 80s, which was the San Francisco 49ers. And during that run, what was really interesting, I watched this all over the last week. During that run in the 90s, most people forget this. I know I forget. I was 8 years old. Emmitt Smith, after their first Super Bowl year, was one of the best rushers in the league.
Yep.
He wanted to be the highest paid running back in the league. And he held out. And in the 93 season, he didn't play the first 2 games. And this is when they're trying to repeat. They ended up repeating that year. They won 2 in a row. They won 3 in a row. They won 2 in a row. And he didn't play the first 2 games. And they weren't very good. And all this pressure came down on Jerry because everyone's like, you're an idiot. Your running back is the best player in the league. You're not paying him. We're not playing well. I think they went 0-2 their first 2 games. They ended up winning the Super Bowl that year. He caves to some extent. And he went a little further than they did to meet in the middle. And they get him signed before week 3, and Emmitt still goes out and has a great year.
Yeah.
But I think the takeaway there, if you watch this, I mean, Jerry Jones is a pioneer in the NFL. I was 8 years old when this stuff was going down. I kind of forgot a lot of this.
Yeah.
He commercialized the NFL. He's the one that brought like corporate sponsors to teams. He came up with that idea. He's the one that brought Fox to cover the NFL. Like CBS was really the only one doing it at the time. He reached out to Fox and Rupert Murdoch and got that whole thing going, and basically the guy's a pioneer, right? He changed the NFL from the mid-90s all the way till now, completely changed the NFL. Jerry's a risk taker. He's a hardline negotiator. And he loves, that's one thing you pull from this, he loves the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
He went all in on this. There was like some oil deal that gave him the ability to buy the team, and he was all in. This is all these other owners, like, they're business guys, billionaires, they're doing all that. And, oh, by the way, they also own that team.
Yeah.
This is all Jerry does.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's really easy to sit here and say he's some senile GM that doesn't know what he's doing anymore and he's hurting the team. While to some extent that may be true, I don't think that's giving Jerry enough credit for what he's done for the league and the Cowboys. Now, if you watch this documentary and you think, gosh, in the mid-90s until now, the fact they've never even sniffed another title, I don't think you could have ever saw that coming.
Yeah.
So obviously there's been some mistakes made along the way. But I saw a lot of context in that documentary as I'm watching that really led me to believe, like, Jerry's not going to cave on Micah Parsons. Right? Micah Parsons, first of all, is not Emmitt Smith. He doesn't have the ball in his hand every other play to where the team's going to go 0-2 without him, and then all the fans are going to clamor to have him signed. But if you think that there's no way, because like we saw with the other guys with Trey and Terry McLaurin, those you kind of figured that'll get done before week 1. This one to me though feels like it may not. And I think it's very possible that Micah could go a couple weeks without playing, to where Micah gets uncomfortable, frustrated. Whether he gets 35 or 40 a year on average, I don't know. We all know that the Cowboys are in an interesting spot right now with the money that Dak's making, with the money that CeeDee Lamb is making. They signed George Pickens, who's obviously not eating up a huge chunk of the cap. But they're just in a tough spot from that standpoint to sign Micah. And I think you have to remember, like, Jerry Jones' background. Like, check out this documentary and watch it. And then you ask yourself, is this guy going to cave and pay Micah what he's asking? The other dynamic here that's going on, there's a lot of people pissed off that Jerry reportedly has been negotiating directly with Micah Parsons, or at least trying to, going around the agent and like talking to Micah directly. In a lot of ways, that violates the CBA, the collective bargaining agreement in the NFL. And there are a lot of people, including former players, that have spoken out. Like Darrelle Revis had a post recently that are really pissed off about it and want the union to do something about it. Yeah, because they feel like you're taking a guy who doesn't understand the contractual discussions that go on here in Micah, and you're trying to put all this pressure on him to then go to his agent and say, you know what, forget it, let's just do it. And his agent's like, hold on, let me do my job. You hired me to do this. And per the CBA rules, like, you have to let me do my job. Yeah. And so it feels ugly. I realize it could be resolved like that if Jerry decides he wants to come up and just meet the demands of Micah. But this one to me it doesn't feel like it's going to get resolved anytime soon. I could actually see Micah missing some football of the regular season, which is a big deal. It doesn't happen very often.
It's a huge deal, and if I'm Jerry, I'm getting this resolved today.
So you pay him? Because honestly, I wouldn't. I wouldn't pay him.
So let me break this down to you. So we're sort of comparing this to Myles Garrett, correct? Sort of like, hey, he's the top paid.
Wait, let me note too. Micah Parsons is this year, if you're wondering, is going to play on his 5th-year rookie option. Every first-round rookie has this like 5th-year option. He's going to make just over $24 million this year. Okay, he's asking for probably. Again, he's asking to be the highest paid non-quarterback. He's asking to eclipse Myles Garrett.
But that just means what, like $41 million a year?
On average, yes. I think he wants like 5 for $200. I think is that what I saw? No. So Jerry has come out publicly. He was on a podcast recently with Michael Irvin. He said, look, I've offered Micah, I don't know if it's true, but I've offered Micah the highest in guaranteed money terms, not total money, but guaranteed money. I've offered Micah the highest guaranteed money of any non-quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah, but per year must be lower.
Probably, and he's only talking guaranteed, which we know once you get past the year like 2 or 3, your guarantees are gone.
The only number you need to look at is guaranteed. All these contracts that are like 5-year, $200 million, $110 million guaranteed. Right. The only number that matters is the 110, because you're either gonna renegotiate it after you get the guarantee, or they're gonna cut you. Like you're not just gonna play on non-guaranteed contracts. Like, it never happens. I will say this, just to break it down for everyone listening. I'm sort of comparing this to Myles Garrett. Games played, Micah Parsons, 63, Myles Garrett, 57. Sacks, Micah Parsons, 52. This is in their first 4 years. So this is Myles Garrett's first 4 years.
Okay, Myles' first 4 years.
Let me preface that. Sacks, Micah Parsons, 52.5. Myles Garrett, 42.5. Total tackles, Micah Parsons, 256. Myles Garrett, 153. Forced fumbles, Micah Parsons, 9. Myles Garrett, 10. Fumble recoveries, 4-2. Passes defended, 9-6, and defensive touchdowns, Michael Parsons has 1-0. Statistical category, first 4 years, it's comparable, but in my opinion, sort of blows Myles Garrett out of the water in the sense of tackles and sacks. I mean, that's 10 more sacks and 103 more tackles. And he also played 6 more games, so he stays healthy. Yeah. So if I'm Dallas, Micah Parsons is on the trajectory of being a Hall of Famer. You want him to be a Hall of Famer in Dallas. Yeah. This, in my opinion, if Dallas messes this up, is another Saquon Barkley situation where they look dumb. Giants let go of Saquon, and Saquon just becomes the player of the league last year, and is a huge reason the Philadelphia Eagles win a Super Bowl. In my opinion, this is the same situation. Obviously, Saquon touches the ball more. Micah Parsons is going to change your defense. He will change your defense. He is on a Hall of Fame trajectory. Dallas has to get this done. This is not a average player that's doing – this is a future Hall of Famer that Dallas will want.
So you're saying they should pay him more than Myles Garrett?
Yes.
They should pay him more than Jamar Chase. They should make him the highest paid non-quarterback in the NFL.
And all that means is 40.5. It doesn't mean 45.
Well, he wants 200 over 5. So that's about 40 a year on average is what he wants.
And my thing is this, and Jerry's not coming out and saying the full contract because Jerry's not telling. He might be guaranteeing another $1 million more, but he's getting paid less per year. The only thing he's looking at is he wants most per year or equal to, and he wants a little more guaranteed. Yeah. It doesn't take a lot. You don't have to beat it by a lot. You just want to beat it by $1 million.
Yeah, that's how it works.
Yeah, right? You're not going $10 million over.
Maybe $500,000 you beat it by.
So I know Jerry's got to play hardball, but if I'm Jerry and I want the Cowboys back on track and I want them to have the best opportunity, and they open up against Philadelphia. I mean, Micah's already not going to be ramped up, ready to go. Yeah. I mean, as great of an athlete as he is,
that's the other thing. Give him 3 weeks at least. Right?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to play Philadelphia, and you're going to get waxed.
Which, by the way, the hard part is if he ends up getting signed, like in-season practices are different than training camp practices, right? So it's not you're going to get in game shape from in-season practices. Like, it's not like they're hitting. No. Right? All of a sudden the practice tempo totally changes.
Well,
right?
and what sort of stinks, I'm sure Jerry knows this, is, all right, I'm going to pay, say I do cave and I pay him, and they do ramp him up quickly and get him out there. There's a higher risk of injury
100%.
Because he has not acclimated to training camp football.
He'll play 30 snaps a game to start, probably.
Yeah, and your body, like you said, your body's just not equipped. I mean, we played in the NFL for a long time. We trained in the offseason. We got in what we always felt like was the best shape of our lives. Mm-hmm. After 4 days of training camp, your entire body hurts. And I was playing quarterback where I'm not getting hit, but you're just on your feet. Everything's aggressive. You're nonstop. And then you're sitting in the film room. Like, it's all day. Whereas when you're training, you might go out there for most 3 hours, 4 hours. I mean, that's not a training camp day. Yeah. You're on your feet a lot longer. So I do think they need to get it done. And when they do, their first 4 games of the season will be a ramp-up period for him to ultimately keep him healthy, but it's something they have to get done because of the quality. I mean, I just compared him to Myles Garrett. He's had his first 4 years are better than Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett is the premier player in the NFL at his position with Micah Parsons. You got to pay him.
Well, like I said, in his first 4 years, only one other player in NFL history has done what he's done, and that's Reggie White.
I mean,
and that's elite company. Right? Another interesting thing to keep in mind. I'm going to go back to that documentary again back in '93 when Emmitt Smith was holding out. You saw a lot of players rally for Emmitt and speak out, and that puts even more pressure than the fans, obviously, on Jerry Jones to do something. We haven't seen that yet, at least publicly. We have not seen that yet. Players basically saying, like, this is ridiculous. You got to figure it out. This guy's a generational talent. Figure it out. We have not seen that. But one thing I'll say is we haven't seen any regular season games yet.
Yeah.
Right. So I think everybody, even on that Cowboys roster, is like, what? They'll get it figured out. Whatever. Michael will be out there doing his thing. It's all good. That's the way players think. If Jerry really takes this to a point, and Micah, it takes 2 to tango. If he takes this to a point where Micah misses regular season games, which I think is a real possibility at this point, because now we're less than 2 weeks away. I mean, the opener's next Thursday. It's a week from Thursday, September 4th. If he misses time and they struggle, then I could start to see some players speaking out about being pissed off about, ownership, front office, GM. We got to figure this stuff out. We're not right as a team right now. We have distractions. All those things that have undertones to them. We have distractions going on. We've got to get this figured out. That could provide a whole new level of pressure to Jerry if it gets there. Because to my knowledge, and I could be wrong, since the mid-'90s, Jerry hasn't been in this position to where he's looking at a franchise-type talent. Maybe not the quarterback position or running back position. Or maybe Zeke. How long they had some contract issues with Zeke, but I don't remember. But Zeke. So
Zeke wasn't Micah Parsons.
Well, he was, but there was a time where he was
really good.
You got to get him signed.
No doubt.
So if he does miss time, it will be interesting to see what kind of pressure he gets from guys on his roster too. Because there's a lot of guys I think that will not be afraid to speak out about that if it comes to that.
And I do think Micah Parsons' next 4 years will be better than his first 4.
There you go. Well, if that's look, you've made a compelling case to go ahead and sign him for what he's asking for. Dallas made some moves this offseason too. They went and grabbed George Pickens, so now they got another. I don't love pairing 2 number 1 receivers together because I think you need to have some guys do the dirty work. I think it's a problem when you have 2 like big egos that are.
Oh, it's tough, man.
You need guys to do the dirty work.
Yeah.
Right? Who's going to own the middle of the field and not be afraid to take? I know they have tight ends, but who's going to own the middle of the field? And when you really George Pickens, CeeDee Lamb are similar type receivers. Like I don't. Yeah.
I agree with you on that one, and I know this will be our final statement on that with the receivers, but I always think of Nelson Aguilar, my receiver in Philadelphia. And
need guys like that.
The thing I loved about Nelly was, and I know like in Philly, like there were certain things that happened where he dropped a few balls or here and there, but he made some huge plays. And I love Nelson. I know his work ethic. He was catching 200 balls on the jugs every morning, if not more. He was grinding at it every day because he cares about it. And he's one of my favorite players. And the reason is I remember going to him after a practice because it's hard for receivers. We would always motion him. He'd be a slot, and he'd have to go in there and dig out the safeties or the extra guy in the box, and he'd have to do the grunt work. But then he's also the guy that, is going to catch a shallow and make some plays. I remember going to him during a practice and say, hey, man, I just want you to know I appreciate you for all your work and what you do. And you being able to dig out that safety right there opens up the run game, and it helps our team so much. And then I know – and I would go to him on sidelines and show him plays. And, hey, I see you open. Be ready. Be ready. Sucker made some huge plays from myself and the Eagles and everywhere he's been. You have to have guys like Nelson Aguilar that can put the guy's also a big personality. He wants the ball. He knows he can make the play, but he also is willing to do what he can for his teammates and block, and that's what I love, and you have to have.
I agree with you. And, look, I know George Pickens is talented. I don't love the combo. And some people, what do you mean? You got George on one side and CD on the other? Like, look, I know these guys are a problem in one-on-one matchups, but the game is a lot more than that. And you need a balanced offense, and you need certain guys to take on roles and responsibilities that some guys won't. And a lot of there's not number one receivers that won't do certain things, right? And when you got two of them, you start to have deficiencies in those areas. Jerry knows what's looming, and that's going to Philly next Thursday, September 4th. They are a 7-point underdog as of right now to open the NFL season. And I think he knows I don't want to go in there without Micah Parsons. But Jerry also is stubborn as hell. He's stubborn for success, I should say.
Yeah.
Again, watch the documentary. I mean, it gave me a whole new perspective on Jerry that, like, at 8 years old, I wasn't sitting here analyzing the Dallas Cowboys. And so I got a lot of respect for what he's done. Obviously, there's been a lot of missteps along the way, and he gets a lot of criticism now, and some of it's warranted. But Jerry also is very principled when it comes to what he thinks is best for the Dallas Cowboys. And I don't know that it's going to be easy to get him to bend. So we'll see how this plays out. But that is going to – so next week on our episode, we're going to jump into Cowboys-Eagles, more of a preview of the game because our episode is going to come out before the game on Thursday. And we'll do a really deep dive on the matchup, how it all plays out. By then, we should have some news on where Mike is going to stand. If Mike is not signed by then, we're not going to see him play. By the time our show is released next week, that we do next Tuesday or Wednesday, if Mike is not signed by then, I don't think we're going to see it. And if he's signed at the last minute, he's not going to have a meaningful role in the game. So we'll have more information next week because I really do think that'll impact the outlook of that game and that matchup because both teams are in an interesting spot. Like Philly trying to kind of bounce back and prove that, hey, we're ready to like repeat and keep that same momentum we had last year. Cowboys, on the other hand, after winning 7 games last year, a coach that people were like, really? That's your hire? And Brian Schottenheimer? They have a ton of questions to answer. So they come out and get waxed in week 1. It's going to be really difficult for them to take on that perception and move forward throughout the year. That's going to be a fun thing to talk about next week. Okay, so the first time on the season pod, the first time we've done this, and I'm looking forward to it, we're going to take like 2 or 3 fan questions before we wrap it up today. Again, this is sort of a triage thing. As the fan questions roll in, they're all really good. We just selected 3 today that we thought would make for good conversation. And Nick, let's hit 2 or 3 before we wrap this up.
Yeah, I got 2 or 3 right here. So this one's from Dicey. Oh, I have questions with 4 exclamation points. Thoughts on kids playing tackle football, concussions, the risk? Do you think flag will become big and take over tackle football in the future?
I think it's a really good question. I think flag football, both for males and females, like I have a couple daughters that play flag football. I think it is going to continue to get bigger, right? It's become a high school sport. It's become a club sport at the amateur level.
Yeah. High
school sport. It's going to be a college sport, whether it's club or varsity remains to be seen. But I'll be clear, like flag football to me is a completely different sport than football. There are some parallels and crossover in passing game concepts and all that. Like I know in high school you have guys that recruit go watch passing league games. David Shaw, the coach at Stanford when I was there, is famous for always saying, like, I don't go and watch passing league games. I want to see guys in pads because it's a completely different game.
Totally different.
There is so much of the game, fundamental-wise, that to make yourself a good football player that has nothing to do with flag football. Absolutely nothing. Even a guy that can run and catch, throw pads and a helmet on him, then go ask him to run and catch, and let's see how it looks, right? It's a completely different deal. So to me, they're almost like mutually exclusive, right? There's a lot about flag I really like. It's safer. I think it's a lot of fun to watch. I think it's going to continue to grow, but it's not football. And that being said, I didn't play football until I was a freshman in high school. Never put pads on, never put a helmet on one time until I was a freshman in high school. And I don't look back and say, had I played Pop Warner, I would have been more ready to go. Football's a different game than some of these skill-specific sports like golf and basketball, and it's a little different, right?
Yeah.
Speed and power are going to give you a chance.
Yep.
And I think your body needs to mature. I think your body needs to get to a point physically where it's ready for it. And I personally, I know there are people that disagree with this, I personally do not ever see a need to put pads, a helmet and shoulder pads on before high school. I don't think that it's necessary for kids. In fact, if I had sons, I don't have boys, I have all girls. I would actually not allow them to play tackle football before high school. I also wouldn't even let them do what they want to do, and I would encourage them to pursue what they want to pursue, but I would not allow them to play before high school because I don't think it's something kids should be doing before high school.
No,
Personal opinion.
No, I like what you said. I played tackle football in like 4th or 5th grade, and then I had to take a year off because I was too big. I didn't make the weight class.
They made you play tackle?
Yeah. And then I played middle school 7th and 8th, and then obviously.
So you did put on pads in 7th and 8th grade?
I put on pads in like 5th grade.
What position do you play?
I was quarterback.
Oh, you were? Okay.
And lost every game for the Corsairs in Austin, Texas.
How important was that experience to your ultimate success?
Detrimental to my mindset. I mean, we got crushed. The hardest hit I took, a girl knocked my helmet off and made my rib protector go off, and she hit me hard.
Wow.
This is like 5th grade. Never forgot it, but so much respect for – she probably remembers it was Corsair, so she's out there. You got one of the best hits I've ever – you hit me hard.
She got you.
She got me good. But I agree. I think freshman year I have 2 boys, so I don't think it's – I love that flag has become so huge. NFL is a big reason flag is getting huge because of their investment into it, because it does allow for a greater love of the sport, a greater skill set. Also is protecting these kids at a young age from hits to the head.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. I think freshman year is a good time to put on the pads, but I love flag football for the skill development. Is it truly football? No, because there's a lot of people that will be great at flag football that will not be great at tackle football. And it will never overtake tackle football because tackle football is a gladiator sport. Fans love it because of the hits. They love it because of the violence. They love it because it's aggressive. And as a player, when I'm throwing 7-on-7, man, I ain't worried about anything. I'm just slinging the rock. It's like playing basketball.
You're going to take risks as a passer, and I'm going to take risks as a pass catcher that I would not take.
Tackle's
different. If I had pads on.
You're dealing with protection. You're dealing with so much. So I don't think it will overtake it. Now, there was part of it was concussions, risk, etc. Now that we're removed from the NFL, that is a risk. That is a real risk with the head. With my boys, people ask me all the time, man, because you played in the concussions. Well, yeah, if they want to play and they have a passion because their dad and their uncle played, my guess is they're going to want to play.
It did amazing things for your life. It'd be hypocritical for you to say, like, you can't play.
Yes, and did I have concussions throughout my time in the NFL? Yes, I did. Yeah. I had several. Did I recover from them? Yes. But I knew it was worth it because I went through the adversity, I went through the growth, and I had to recover, and it made me a better person. It made me a better person playing the game. It allowed me to grow up to be a man. It allowed me to grow up to be a father, a husband. The game of football and everything it entails made me a better person. It allowed my faith to increase. Everything in between. I am so grateful for football for what it did to me. Was everything about football? Did I love it? Absolutely not. There's a lot about football I did not like.
It's miserable.
But
90% of it is miserable.
I agree. I think, but there's 10% that's special.
It's incredible.
That's life-changing. And it's not just the money, it's the game. I mean, my favorite years are high school ball, college ball at Arizona.
Yeah.
Like, those are some special – you're not getting paid to play the game. Like, you're just playing the game with your boys. I think it's a really special game, and I think it teaches you a lot about life.
This is sort of a nebulous thing medically, so I'm not an expert medically, so even really to like stake this claim too forcefully, but in my mind, like as it relates to head trauma in the NFL, there might not be a standardized, we all have like sort of these subjective quotas, if you will, for how many hits we can really sustain and take. And so if those exist, those quotas of like how many times I can take a knock to the head, whether it's like a diagnosed concussion or just like a hit that rings your bell, am I going to start counting against that quota when I'm in 6th grade? No, thanks. I think we know too much now.
Yeah.
Right? And if I take my kid out to practice and I watch him get blasted in 6th grade, I'm like, it's personal to me.
Yeah.
Right? It's just, I just don't see the need, and I don't think it's necessary. And look, as a freshman, like our best player in high school was a total stud. He was a running back, and like, but then by the time, and it was obvious he had played Pop Warner. He was ahead of all of us, right? Because we didn't. So yeah, like freshman year, you're going to be a little bit ahead because you played Pop Warner, sure. But then by the time we hit sophomore, and this is where it really matters in football, is puberty.
Yeah.
We all hit puberty, right? Our late bloomers, by the time we were sophomores, were like, all of a sudden we had armpit hair too. And it's like, he disappeared.
Yeah.
Because all of us like were faster and stronger than he was, right? And all of a sudden his like Pop Warner days didn't matter as much anymore, right? And so this is a personal thing for everybody. There is no right answer.
Yeah. But
I think that's a really good question, and that's just where I stand on it.
No, I love it. Hopefully we get to we'll do one more with time permitting. Yeah. Let's do one. I love this. I love that Aiden Walsh. This is a great story. You're gonna have to break it down. We talked a little bit before the show when we were picking the questions, and thank you all for listening. Keep throwing in the questions. We do look through them, and time permitting, we can only choose a couple, but we'll choose a couple each episode and go through them. So Aiden said, what was the offseason like towards the end of your career, specifically throwing at Bonita Creek Park, Mishaw? This is cool because I last 4 years of my career or something, we would always go throw it at this park, those turf fields and everything. And I was throwing with you. You would spot catch for me just to throw once.
Spot catch meaning like I'm not running. I'm just standing where the final route would finish in because I was getting old.
Yeah.
I would just catch it.
And you saw a young man who was probably a freshman in high school. About 100 yards away, running routes on his own, like we're doing footwork drills. Working his butt off. And you're like, hey, hold on one sec. And I'll let you take it from here. But you ran over to him.
Yeah, I ran. So he not only was working his tail off, but he looked like he knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
Right. It was like, okay, this kid he's training for something, right? He's young, but so I go over there and I introduce myself to him. I said, hey, do you have any interest in running routes full speed like you're doing right now for a quarterback? And he's like, yeah, I don't. He's like a freshman in high school. He's like, I don't have a quarterback. And I said, well, do you know who Nick Foles is? And he's like, yeah. I said, well, that's Nick, and I'm catching for him, but I can't run full speed routes anymore. Do you want to come run routes for him? The look on his face was priceless. I mean, this is what it's all about, right? Like to see a kid that's a freshman in high school working on his own, by the way, he deserved the opportunity to go throw with you because this cat was out here by himself, setting up cones, working on running routes by himself. Like we've all been there, but when we see it, we still appreciate it. And he comes over and runs, remember he's by himself now, so he's running every route. He probably ran 30 routes, which is a lot, right? Full speed. Yeah. Full speed routes for you so you could get work in. And you ended up working with him several times over the course of the next couple off seasons. Yeah, a couple off seasons. You would text him and call him.
I'd text him, and he'd bring his little bro out, and his little bro would snap to me, and his little bro was like 4 or 5, maybe 6. And I'm sure he's a baller now, but I mean.
You might not have this perspective because I was more like the onlooker, observer. This is the kind of thing you see in movies. Like a kid is grinding at the park by himself. And, like the pro quarterback comes up and goes, hey, man, like you want to catch some balls, right? Like. It's like that Little Giants, in Little Giants, that scene where like the guys from the Dallas Cowboys show up and they're all like, oh my God. Yeah, well, I'm not going to say it was that. I want to give Aiden a little bit because he's a little bit older, but it was that. Yeah. It was Aiden looking, being like, wait a second, I'm out here working on my own. I'm going to get a chance to catch passes for Nick Foles at a random park in Newport Beach, California during the offseason. It helped you because you needed a guy to run full speed and catch the ball. And it was probably, I'm guessing, sort of a transformative moment for him to say like, oh my God. I mean, he probably went and told his buddies, and what a cool thing for him to be able to do that.
Great. Now he's in college. I believe he's at Ole Miss. Aiden will probably correct me if I'm wrong. Awesome. I'm so grateful for that. And that's what makes the game special is I always love giving back, and I'm glad you ran over to him, and it sort of developed a friendship where I got to help him with his craft, and we had fun out there. We got to get work in, and then he went on to play football at, I believe, CDM and play varsity and do all those things. So it was really special and great times. But
I hope that moment for him, like even if he's not playing football at Ole Miss, right? But even, in other areas of life, he'll never forget, like, one time I was grinding on my own. I got this cool opportunity, and like that'll carry over into other things. No doubt for him. It's a win for him on so many levels, which is really, really cool. And I hope he agrees with that. So, Aiden, thanks for listening at 1 and 2. Like that was really cool.
Appreciate it, dude.
This is cool for us as it was for you.
No.
Okay. That's episode 2. Of the season pod. We're obviously loving this. It's been a lot of fun. And please, if you're not already doing it, go on Instagram, follow us at the season pod, at the SZN pod, because we'll occasionally post that these won't make it to Spotify. We'll occasionally post some hits as things that come up on our Instagram page. Check out our YouTube page as well to get the video side of this, not just the audio. And if you're only going podcast, Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts as well. Our first normal cadence show, which will be episode 3, will be next week, going into week 1 of the NFL, and will be every week thereafter, assuming Nick's not kissing babies and shaking hands in Philly, and he's here with me. We might have to patch you in remotely from time to time.
Oh, we might have to up it a day.
Yeah,
I think I might be in Philly next week.
And remember, every show over the course of the season, we will make picks. We want to provide value for people, and that is when at some point there's this transformation that takes place, and Big Pick Nick shows up, whips out his picks, and shows you exactly what he's all about. And I think it's going to be big. It's going to be huge. It's going to be massive for the show this year. And
Can't
we're
wait.
looking forward to it.
Let's go.
All right, Season Pod. Thanks for listening.